The first time Avery Chen died was on a Tuesday. She remembered the exact moment, the bloom of pain in her chest, the weightless sensation as her consciousness detached from her body, and then nothing. Until she woke up again on Wednesday morning with the distinct memory of her own death and a small circular scar behind her ear that hadn't been there before. Neural reboot complete, announced the apartment's AI in the same cheerful tone it used to report the weather. Good morning, memory architect Chen. Today is Wednesday, the 15th of March, 2187. Would you like a system diagnostic? Avery's fingers found the tender spot behind her ear. Tracing the perfect circle of raised tissue, protocol dictated she should immediately report a reset to Central Archives. But her training screamed something was wrong. Memory architects never experienced their own resets. No diagnostic, she whispered, swinging her legs off the bed. Mute all outgoing communications and seal the apartment. Security protocol initiated, the AI replied, its voice dropping an octave. Be advised that blocking mandated communications will trigger an enforcement response within 4 hours. 4 hours to figure out why she remembered dying. 4 hours to understand why the most protected minds in New Shanghai were rememory architects, were apparently being reset like common citizens. Avery moved to her window, commanding it to clear with a gesture. New Shanghai sprawled before her, a gleaming metropolis of quantum steel and memory crystal. Streams of air traffic flowed between buildings in orderly patterns. Citizens moving through their precisely controlled lives, blissfully unaware that their memories were managed, edited, and sometimes completely fabricated by people like her. Display my last assignment, she commanded. The air before her shimmered as data materialized. The name made her breath catch. Subject, Chen Avery J. Project. Neural breach, she was her own assignment. Avery's fingers trembled as she expanded the file. Scrolling through project parameters she had never seen despite her highest level clearance. The data showed 16 previous resets, each more aggressive than the last, systematically stripping away her discoveries about neural pattern anomalies across the population. Why would they reset their own architect? She whispered to herself. Downloading critical files to a neural implant hidden beneath her temporal lobe, T1 modification she had never registered with Central Archives 73 minutes later. Avery was moving through the sublevels of the city, her identity masked by a projection shield stolen from her own laboratory. The deeper she descended, the more the gleaming facade of New Shanghai fell away, revealing the truth beneath the manufactured utopia. Memory debt collectors swept through here yesterday, said her guide. A gaunt woman named Riley, who operated outside the system, took 6 people who couldn't pay for their mandated happiness adjustments. I need access to an unmonitored neural port, Avery said. Her scalp dingled beneath the shield's projection. To anyone scanning them, she appeared as a maintenance worker with mid-level clearance, invisible by design. Riley snorted. You topsiders always want the impossible. Central Archives monitors every neural port in the city. Not the ones they don't know exist. The guide's eyes narrowed. That's restricted information. I can pay. Avery held up a memory crystal containing architectural blueprints for the newest neuro inhibitors, devices that could block the mandatory memory adjustments. In the underground, such information was more valuable than any currency. After a moment's hesitation, Riley nodded and led her deeper into the labyrinth of forgotten infrastructure that supported the glittering city above. They moved through narrow maintenance tunnels until they reached a sealed door covered in faded hazard warnings. Radiation leak in 62, Riley explained, pressing her palm to a hidden scanner. Or at least, that's what everyone remembers happening. Archives wrote that memory to quarantine this sector permanently. The door slid open, revealing a small chamber containing a single neural port, unoutdated model, but functional. Unlike the sleek interface is used in archive facilities, this one was crude, with exposed circuitry and manual controls. 15 minutes, Riley warned. Then the system will detect the power usage. Avery nodded, settling into the chair and connecting the neural leads to the access points behind her ears. The moment the connection established, she gasped. Without the usual archive filters, the raw data flooded her consciousness, threatening to overwhelm her trained defenses. She forced herself to focus, navigating the data stream with practiced precision until she found the encrypted packet she'd embedded in her own neural signature before her death, before her reset to the version of me they allow to survive. They're erasing us to hide what we found. Project Neural Breach isn't population stability, it's mass consciousness modification. The temporal anomalies are real. This isn't the first 2187 we've lived through. Asterisk Central Archives deployed their erasers precisely 3 hours and 22 minutes after Avery sealed her apartment. They moved with the mechanical efficiency of those who had been stripped of all memories, except their operational protocols, perfect enforcement tools, but Avery was already deep in the sublevels when they breached her home. Her mind racing to process the impossible truth she'd discovered in the hidden neural port. New Shanghai had experienced the 15th of March. 2187, 16 times. Each time, something catastrophic occurred, a temporal fracture that shattered reality itself. Each time, the memory architects, led by Central Archives Director Rikenga, reset the population's memories and reconstructed the timeline, erasing all evidence of the disaster. Except this time, something had changed. This time, Avery had discovered the pattern and found a way to preserve this knowledge through her own reset. And she wasn't the only one. "We call ourselves the Echoes," explained Dr. Kwan, a former archive scientist now hiding in an abandoned research facility beneath the city. Around them, 24 people with identical circular scars worked frantically at salvaged equipment. People who've retained memories through resets. How many temporal fractures can reality sustain before it collapses completely? Avery asked, scanning the probability models floating above the central table. That's the wrong question, Kwan replied. Ask instead, what's causing them? Or more precisely, who? The holographic display shifted, revealing surveillance footage of Director Rikenga entering a restricted vault deep within Central Archives. The timestamp indicated it was from yesterday, hours before Avery's death and reset. "We believe Rikenga isn't preventing the temporal fractures," Kwan said quietly. "He's causing them. Each reset gives him more control over the collective memory stream. Each time, he rewrites more of reality itself." "But why would he destroy reality to control it?" Avery asked. "Because it's not destruction to him. Twer's evolution." Kwan's expression darkened. Rikenga believes human consciousness is flawed. Project Neural Breach isn't just memory control. It's his attempt to evolve humanity by rewriting our cognitive architecture through repeated temporal resets. Avery felt cold realization wash over her. He's using the entire population as test subjects. And the fractures are getting worse. This cycle. We have less than 9 hours before the next one occurs. Avery studied the building schematics, committing them to memory. The temporal calibration chamber, that's where he's doing it? Yes, Kwan confirmed, zooming in on the secured central core of Archives Tower. It was originally designed to maintain timeline stability after the quantum wars. But Rikenga has modified it to create controlled fractures instead. The central core of Archives Tower hummed with quantum processors that stored and managed the collective memories of 20 million citizens. Avery moved silently through the maintenance shaft, thermal suppressors masking her body heat from the security systems. 3 minutes until security sweep, came Riley's voice through the encrypted calm. She and the other Echoes were creating diversions throughout the city, drawing archive resources away from the tower. "Almost there," Avery whispered, reaching the access panel that would lead her to the temporal calibration chamber, heart of Rikenga's operation. Her fingers danced across the interface, applying the override codes she'd hidden in her own neural backup. The panel slid open, revealing a cavernous spherical room dominated by a pulsing crystalline structure suspended in a gravity well. And standing before it, as if expecting her, was Director Rikenga. "Memory Architect Chen," he said without turning. "Right on schedule." "This isn't the first time I've come here," Avery realized, the truth settling into place with terrible clarity. "The 7th, actually." Ikenga finally turned, his ageless face betraying no emotion. The neural implants that spiraled across his scalp glowed with internal light. In previous iterations, you made it further. Once, you even managed to initiate a system purge before I stopped you. You are fracturing reality, she said, moving carefully around the edge of the room, looking for an opening. Each reset damages the temporal stability further. A necessary evolution. Ikenga's voice remained calm as reasonable. Humanity is trapped in linear time and flawed perception. I am freeing us from these limitations. By destroying everyone's authentic memories? By rewriting their very identities? Identity is an illusion, Architect Chen. One I've helped you shed 6 times before. He gestured to the crystalline structure. The neural breach isn't destruction, 'twas transcendence. When enough cycles complete, consciousness itself will evolve beyond temporal constraints. How many millions suffer in your experiments? Avery demanded, her hand closing around the neural disruptor in her pocket. Suffering is temporary. Evolution is forever. Ikenga's eyes narrowed. And you are too late. The fracture cascade has already begun. The air around them shimmered as reality itself began to warp. Through the tower's observation windows, Avery could see distortions rippling across the city skyline. Buildings phasing in and out of existence as the temporal fracture spread. You can still stop this, she pleaded. I have no desire to stop human potential, Ikenga replied. Not even yours. With a lightning movement, Avery activated the neural disruptor, but instead of targeting Ikenga, she plunged it into her own neural port. Pain exploded behind her eyes as the device uploaded the distributed consciousness algorithm she'd prepared, collective experiences of all the echoes, spreading through the archive network like a virus. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. The crystalline structure's pulsations slowed, then stopped entirely. As the distributed algorithm reached critical mass in the network, Ikenga lunged toward Avery, his movements distorted through the increasingly unstable time stream. The final moments before the fracture were stretched across what felt like eternity. Avery's consciousness, amplified by the combined memories of every echo, expanded through the archive network. She saw every reset, every manipulation, every carefully constructed lie that had built their false reality. And she saw the solution, not in fighting the temporal fracture, but in guiding it, not in maintaining a single timeline, but in allowing the natural multiplicity of existence to flourish. What have you done? Ikenga demanded, his composed facade cracking as the archive systems began responding to Avery's distributed consciousness. I am giving people back their choices, she gasped through the pain. Every possibility, every path not taken, Teak Nation all exist. You tried to force us into your single vision of evolved consciousness. The crystalline structure in the center of the room began to resonate with her brainwave patterns, its color shifting from cold blue to vibrant gold. You'll destroy everything, Ikenga warned, desperately trying to regain control of the systems. No, Avery said with certainty, as her consciousness expanded further. I am remembering everything. The temporal fracture reached its critical point, reality trembling on the edge of collapse. But instead of catastrophic failure, the fracture points began to stabilize into a new pattern, a quantum state where multiple timelines could coexist without destroying each other through the windows. Avery could see New Shanghai transforming. In some sections, advanced architecture beyond anything in their current technology shimmered into existence. In others, different versions of the city's development path manifested. Not a single reality, but a beautiful, complex multiverse of possibilities. This isn't evolution, Ikenga said, watching his carefully constructed single timeline dissolve. This is chaos. This is freedom, Avery corrected him. As the neural connection reached its endpoint, the freedom to remember every possibility, the freedom to choose which one to make real. As the transformation completed, Avery felt her consciousness begin to fragment, spreading across the newly stabilized quantum reality. Not a death, but a transcendence of a different kind than Ikenga had imagined. Her last thought as Avery Chen was a memory, not of dying on a Tuesday, but of all the Tuesdays that had ever been and ever could be, each one precious, each one real.